Cool. The stream is up. We're going to GCI. Audio is good.
Madam Chair, we're ready for you to start.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. I would like to call this January 20th, 2021 work session of the Port and Commerce Advisory Board to order. I cannot believe that it's already January 20th. This year is already disappearing. Madam Clerk, I don't have the announcement with the work session topics on it in front of me. Do you have that? Would you mind reading those off for us?
Yeah, the topic was set PACCAP goals calendar for 2021 and discuss the economic development recovery from the pandemic. And then since people aren't physically present and I don't see video feeds from everybody, you might want to do a roll call just to make sure we do have a quorum.
Yes, thank you. So yeah, could you do a roll call for us, please?
Yes. Oh, that's great. I should probably have my sheet with me. Paquette?
Here.
Lemus?
Here.
Hughes?
Here.
Lawrence? Lawrence? Let's see him on the stream. Smith? Smith?
Benjamin Smith, is that who you're
Yeah.
asking for? He is being promoted to a panelist right now.
Okay.
Is Chrissy Terry on that?
No.
Okay.
There I am.
Okay, Ben, you can hear us okay?
Yeah, I think I was on as a attendee or something.
Yeah,
Thanks.
we've got you now. Jaffa?
Okay.
Bruce, we're checking to make sure you can hear us and we can hear you.
He may have to connect via phone. I was hearing he was having some audio troubles last meeting.
Bruce, are you able to hear us okay?
I think you gotta tell him he's on mute.
Yeah, I already clicked that. Oh, it looks like he's not marked as an attendee.
Yeah, he's a panelist. Okay. Sure.
Oh, because mine says change roles as attendee. Oh, never mind. Okay. Bruce, we're not able to hear you if you're calling, if you're talking.
If you are unable to connect via computer, I want to remind you to try connecting via phone if you can, using the instructions we sent.
Chair Snyder?
Yeah.
Okay. So we do have a quorum. The only board member that I don't see present is Lawrence, and Jaffa is present, but we don't seem to be able to have communication with him.
Okay. Well, while we continue to try to get Bruce online, Corey, did you want to make your introduction?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I'd like to introduce Rob Montgomery, who is going to be the new utility manager for Seward Electric. I am ending up my interim time here at the City of Seward. While I let Rob introduce himself, I want to say thank you very much. I got to take this mic. Hopefully you can hear us. I want to thank everyone at PACAF for all the support and all the effort that you've given us at Seward Electric to kind of get things going, including the Interconnect program. So it's been a real honor and a privilege to have worked with you. So Rob Montgomery is here, and I'll let him just, if I can, let him say a few words.
Not a problem. Hey guys, first of all, just say nice to meet you. I look forward to working with you all as we move forward. For those of you that don't know me, my wife and I actually own a small lodging business just outside of town. Carl, I see you on the screen. But anyway, so my background, we're from South Carolina originally, as you can tell by the accent. I worked for South Carolina Electric and Gas Company for over 14 years, and also worked for the Tennessee Valley Authority for over 6 years. So I'm looking to come into this position and build on what Corey and the rest of the team has already started doing. And I really do look forward to the opportunity and look forward to working with you all.
Thank you. Rob, nice to meet you, and Corey, we appreciate you making the introduction. This board does do quite a bit of work in the electric sphere, and we've really appreciated the support. Corey, thank you to you for the energy and enthusiasm that you brought to the process. We've seen a lot of marked improvement in the last months that you've been here. So, Rob, we're looking forward to the future, and thanks again for taking the time to introduce yourself to us today.
Glad to be here.
Thank you so much.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
it looks like we lost Bruce. He's not in the list anymore. I did want to let you know that we do have Jason Bickling from the Chamber online, and also Christy Terry from the Railroad is also online.
Okay. I don't see Christy in the participants window, but I would welcome her being added as a panelist so that she can speak when she has ideas, if that works for MIS.
Yep, he's working on it right now.
Okay, thank you so much. So our first task of the day is to set our goals calendar. And this is basically just taking the things that we already put on our short-term goals list for this year and just saying when we want to accomplish them and setting up the schedule so that it gives us some foresight for what we're going to be talking about, and also gives the clerk's office a little bit more of a heads up for when guests need to be invited and things like that. This is our work session in January, which again, 1 month down, I cannot believe it. That gives us, that leaves us with February as our next regularly scheduled meeting, and I'd like to just start there and move down the calendar. We don't have to, oh, yeah, Madam Clerk?
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt, Chair. I just wanted to bring forward also, while you're determining your calendars, Council has, the Clerk Ballou has asked for information and preference from the board on when they would like to have their joint work session with City Council, which is going to happen in March. And the two dates for that would be March 8th or March 22nd. So if the board could decide today what day works better for them, and then they usually do those meetings in half-hour increments, starting at 5:15, right before their regular council meeting at 7.
Awesome. Thank you for that input. And what I was going to say, too, is that while I think it makes sense to kind of move down the calendar in order as we come to items that maybe we say, oh, we should put that off till the fall, I'm not opposed to skipping around. I just think we should start at the top and try to fill it in somewhat of a methodical manner, but I know that we'll come to goals on the list that might go outside of that. So I'm just looking at my calendar on my phone so that I can have dates in front of me here. So it looks like our February meeting would be on February 3rd. Does anyone have ideas or things that they'd like to see on the meeting agenda for the 3rd of February? I know one thing we need to do for sure is we need to approve our priorities for the year. I know that's already on the agenda, but that is something that needs to happen at our February meeting. I think that there's room for one other like big discussion item on that agenda. Oh, Board Member Paquette.
Is there a laydown?
Not that I know of. Madam Clerk, was there a packet for this meeting?
I was not given any material to present.
Okay. Do you have handy the copy of the updated list of priorities from our last meeting?
I do.
Okay. So you guys should be receiving shortly in your email the list of our 2021 priorities from the work session that we had last month.
That will help.
Yes, surely. Let's see. In the meantime, I'll actually go, while we're waiting on that, I'd like to go to, I see that we have the Community Development Director here. Jackie, do you have a preference on when we have our joint work session for the SMIC overlay? Is there timing that works best for your board?
Madam Chair, we will be approving a calendar at our February 2nd meeting, and we've outlined our different work sessions that we're having with, our request is to have more than one year with you guys, and so we're working that with the Flood Board as well as the HP Commission. So if it's approved at the February 2nd meeting, I will make sure that it is sent to you so you guys can add it to your line items. I'm looking at possibly our joint work session would be in March, but I'm just trying to work out the other entities that we need to involve with it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you for that. That's actually great to know, because if we're already going to have a meeting and a joint work session in March, and then a joint work session with council, and then a joint work session with P&Z, we should maybe just pencil that in as our work session for March, so that we don't overcommit people. That being said, this board has a lot of things to do this year. So what are the thoughts of the board? Is 3 work sessions in a month too much? That would be 2 evening work sessions and 1 at lunch if we kept our regularly scheduled work session. What are your thoughts?
Fine with me.
Fine with you? Okay. Carl, how about you?
I don't know. We usually do a hiatus in the season for the summer season anyway, so it would be almost impossible in the summer. You're talking about 3 work sessions, one at noon and 2 in the evening. Is that correct?
Yeah. So on March 8th or 22nd, council is requesting that we do our joint work session with them, and that's the annual work session where we go over our priorities and kind of get our direction for the year from council. But then also, we'd like to have a joint work session with planning and zoning to talk about overlay. But then we also have our regularly scheduled meeting, which would be at noon on March 17th. And so I guess the question is, would we want to keep that work session, or it's always nice for the clerk if we can, you know, if we know we want to cancel something, to go ahead and cancel it now so that it doesn't, just so that we have that planned. But we can also schedule a work session that's just us to get something crossed off of our short-term goals list for that month. But I just don't want to, ask too much of people's time. So that's why I was just checking in. We would need at least 4 of us. I could be available. Evenings are actually easier for me. So that's not a problem for me in March, at least.
So are we just talking 1 month or a pattern into the future?
Just 1 month. It's just the month of March where we'd have quite a few.
Then I don't have a problem with it at all. I could,
Okay.
And actually, the evening is really good. So.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I was able to
How-
share the screen for the priorities. I'm not able to email it currently because I'm down in the chambers.
Okay, that's great. That's still super helpful. In fact, you could scroll down just to the short-term goals, because the priorities are not things that let's just look at the short-term and long-term goals. Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, so it sounds like there's at least 3 of us that are on board for a pretty tight work session schedule in March. So I think that there's a good chance we can get a quorum at those meetings. Not, we don't have to have everyone at all of them, but I think it's worth a shot looking at how long this list is that we have here.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
if I can just recommend or point out when you guys are doing your goals list and your calendar, that possibly instead of just meeting with planning and zoning, that I come to one of your guys' work sessions to discuss what you would like to see in a SMIC overlay. So when we have that joint meeting together, those things can be incorporated and we can work off of that instead of spending, an hour to 2 hours going over what all of us want to see. We can condense that.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Would coming to our March meeting give you enough time to prepare, or would you prefer it to be in February to give you more time to kind of get together the things that the board wants to see?
So you guys, your work session in February is what date?
Our work session in February is the 17th.
I could put together, just that generic overlay that we had already discussed and how it would incorporate. We could have, I have no problem presenting that and then having you guys be able to review it, make your changes, and then we could bring it forward as the joint work session with those changes.
Yeah, that sounds really good. So let's put on the February 17th work session to discuss the SMIC overlay with community development. And that's great. That sets us up well for a joint work session the next month with P&Z. So that sounds really good to me.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Might I also recommend, if you're asking a question from the board for opinions or ideas, to then go through, if you pull up the participant list, you'll be able to see which board members are there and actually call through their name to give them a chance to comment, and the board members can answer no comment if they have none. because not all of them are sharing video, so you won't see them raising their hand, and I just want to make sure that they all have an opportunity to comment before you move on to something.
That's a great idea. I am trying to get to a place where I can see all of the participants at once. Maybe, oh, there we go. Oh, I can drag that bar and I can see everything. Okay, learn something new.
If you need help, I can always call them out also.
Yeah, thank you for that. So let's go back a step and well, I guess actually, Jackie, while we're talking, are there any other dates or any other topics that you would like the Port and Commerce Advisory Board to address to support the work of CMD this year?
You know, I keep stressing that we will have possibly one more opening on our commission. And I stated this today to someone. I'd really like to get the word out to possibly somebody that's over on the SMIC side, that works over there, lives over there, that, you know, in the next couple of years, PACAB and Planning and Zoning and the Harbor has a big task to incorporate how those things are being laid out. I would really like to have PACAB help with what is happening right now economically with the pandemic. It does have an issue with our planning and how we want to see our city in the next 50 years. So those type of ideas, you know, we've never done that before, where we work as a team and a group to put the ideas out there of how we want to see the city grow. And I think that even in the future, if we had a meeting that also included the chamber, you know, just to get that feel of what our community needs. And then I will be also presenting in the next couple months to every commission just about the process of the Jesse Lee Memorial Park. So those things will be coming forward. You know, the more input that we get as a city and the better that we can help the community and the citizens is, in my mind, the best thing that we can do. So, but we really need to focus on a federal level with the SMIC area, with the Coast Guard and everything being over there. You know, that we have some opportunities through Federal Planning Association to maybe have them help us with development plans. I mean, we all have this, you know, pie in the sky type thing, but they can help us through that federal portion.
Yeah, thank you. That just brings to mind that maybe in the fall, when we're working on our annual review of the SNCC development plan, maybe having another joint work session around that time with CMD, especially because the plan goes up for review next year, where we'll actually be making some major changes to the plan, or at least there's potential for major changes to the plan. So I think it would be a good opportunity to have another joint work session sometime in the fall. Do you have that on your schedule going before the board having, you said there was more than one. Do you have another date in mind?
My thought is, because I know you guys have a hiatus, that it would be in the October area. I'm assuming you guys still do through October, right? Or through the beginning of October. So I would hope that we could have that type of joint work session then. And, you know, other groups that we've worked with, we normally just do an hour. But the ones with PACAB, because they're involving such a large portion of planning, I don't want that just to be an hour. I want that to be a joint work session that's from 6 to 8, where we are working cohesively together.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you. We'll make sure to put a note in our October. I think we can go ahead and put it in the calendar for our October work session. It would not be on the date that we typically have our work session, but we can just put in joint work session with planning and zoning about mixed development. I'll make- Okay. All right. So February 3rd, our next meeting. What do you guys have you'd like to talk about at that meeting? Carl or Linda? Ben?
What's the new news of the city utility changing hands there? Would it be appropriate to maybe have a more formal and thorough discussion with Mr. Montgomery?
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. Maybe we can frame it as an update on the progress of the interconnect policy.
Yeah. Okay.
So the way it's written in our goals is track and evaluate the progress of the interconnect policy, heat pump rebate, and other energy-related issues. So maybe if we just say update on the progress of the interconnect policy, heat pump rebate, and other energy-related issues, and that will give us a chance to hear Mr. Montgomery's ideas on the subject as well as where things are right now. I think that's a great idea.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'm looking under the long-term goals, the second bullet, and I wonder if we should include that in the discussion, just as, so it doesn't end up off in the future somewhere, but just to touch on it.
Yeah. I think that I'm going to rely on you to make sure that we bring that up as a discussion item, because this does say we already have a pretty long agenda item that we're talking about the interconnect policy, the heat pump rebate, and other energy-related issues. So I think that definitely falls in that category. So can you remember to bring that up at that meeting? Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so I think that's a pretty. I'd like to keep our meeting topic to only one or two to help keep our meeting times under control. So I think that is good for February. Now, for our work session in February, we're going to discuss the SMIC overlay with community development, but that is not going to take a full hour, I don't believe. So I'd like to put a second topic on here. What else should we try to tackle here at the beginning of the year while we have lots of time ahead of us?
There's some of these goals that are maybe more time sensitive or seasonal, I suppose. So just looking at the historic, this historic preservation committee overlay, that's something that might be more interesting in the summer or the fall, right? So if we accomplish that earlier in the year, might be better.
Yeah, and Madam Clerk, you have been, I know that you are temporarily also the liaison for the Historic Preservation Commission, but in your time there, have you, do you know where they're at with, I know they're really focused on the sign project right now, But has there been any discussion about the historic overlay since in your time with that board?
The little discussion that I have heard, has been basically, it's put on hold right now because the CLG grant, for public education signage is taking precedence, in their order of business right now.
Yeah,
Cause they have a deadline of June for that.
okay.
So maybe
Yeah, no,
later part of the year might be better to, work with them on that.
Okay. That being said, since that's a long way away, would you mind making a note to just maybe bring that up at their meeting and let them know that we are still really interested in meeting with them on that? And I know as it is an overlay that PNZ is also really interested in that. So I don't know if this is an opportunity for a tri-meeting, one of those good synergistic opportunities that Jackie was talking about.
Madam Chair, we do have a joint work session to discuss the overlay and how it affects code and those type of things, just to get some education with the HP. And like I said, on the 2nd, once it's approved, then we'll send it out to all the boards and commissions. But it is something that down the road, I would think that the first portion needs to be through planning and zoning and HP, and then we could possibly in the later part of the year, have that work session where we're all three together.
Perfect. Well, it sounds like we maybe need a little bit more time to determine when that's exactly going to be, but it sounds like that's going to be in the fall. But along those thoughts, as Board Member Smith brought up, that there are certain things that are more time sensitive. And one thing that this board has been working on for a couple years now is the energy education program. And I feel like we always go into the year with all this enthusiasm for it, and then the hiatus hits us before we know it, and then it's fall, and that's when we're wanting to do things. So, Board Member Smith, what do you think about taking the opportunity at that work session to discuss in a broader way in a work session what we want that energy education to look like for this year?
Yeah, thank you. I think you read my mind there. I was looking at that. If the board gets a chance, that I would recommend again that Renewable Energy Alaska project. This is what they do, and they would send somebody or set up a Zoom session and basically do this. Be the champion for that. Or getting that mission accomplished. Would it be appropriate to put or to look at that in that meeting specifically?
Yeah, absolutely. We can
Okay.
invite them to present so that they could talk about the resources they have available and what they could potentially.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's alaskarenewableenergy.org is their page, and they have a request a public speaker form. So this is push button ready in my opinion, and I do work with this organization quite a bit, and they are very very knowledgeable, very dedicated, and I think inviting them in is basically all we need to do. So I'd like to see that done.
Yeah, excellent suggestion. Madam Clerk, could you please make a note? I know that Jessica will be returning to us at some point, but could you make a note for that February work session to invite the Renewable Energy Alaska project to give a presentation? And if they want more specifics on what specifically the board wants, I'd be happy to get in an email chain with on that so that we can.
Is that for February 17th?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so for February 17th, I have SMIC overlay and then education information from Alaska Renewable Energy.
Yes.
Okay. Did we have anything else added to February 3rd other than approve the priorities?
So approve the priorities and then an update on the progress of the interconnect policy, heat pump rebate, and other energy related issues.
Okay. Sorry, I was in the middle of trying to help troubleshoot something else going on in the background.
No worries. And I am taking chicken scratch notes, but notes nonetheless. I'm trying to be pretty thorough, so I'm happy to share this with you when when we're done, so that we can see where we overlap. That brings us to our March meeting. Erin, any ideas on what you would want to discuss in March?
Yeah, I was just looking at our list of stuff in the capital improvement plan, which reminds me about that letter that Steve Lear sent in about that washdown pad for this side of the bay.
Yeah.
I thought that, I mean,
Yeah, no, that's definitely something we need to discuss. I'm going to defer to Norm here and ask when, this is a budget year, and I know that there's been talk in the past about budget work sessions starting to happen earlier and having discussions, over the summer so that it's not so meeting heavy in the fall. I'm just wondering when the right time of year is. That we did just reprioritize this list with the harbor, but I think it's a good idea to check in on the progress of things. But I guess I'm just wondering, Norm, for some of these items that do affect the budget, like reviewing the harbor tariff and capital improvement plan, and the the city, state, and federal priorities. What are the right times of year for us to be looking at those?
So we're going to be starting our budget process here shortly, and so most of the stuff stays on there unless we completed it. So unless we add something, so it's going to stay on there unless like the washdown pad. EVOS is not funding anything like that, so that's definitely out. So we'll have to look at some other funding source. And City of Stewart does not qualify for the MADRAD grants because it's a government agency. So I know they just sent me a thing for small shipyard grants, and we can't use it. So maybe a private party can do the washdown pad and work a deal out with the other companies around there for washdown pad if you can get the grant for it.
Exit Marine!
Yeah, I'm not looking to grow this year. I would like to stay right here this year. But just as an aside on that, Norm, would the city be willing to lease the land out where the pad was planned to go if a private company did want to put one in?
It's something that has to bring before council, but we still need to have access for our machine to turn right there. But it is possible. It's something we can bring before, maybe have a work session with council. When you do have your work session with council, maybe you can bring that up.
Yeah. The problem with that MARAD grant is the timeline is so tight. Once they approve funds, 60 days. So I think that it's like February 21st that the grant cycle closes. So at this point for this year, it's already too late for anyone to get started on that process. But looking forward, if we, I think it's a really interesting concept to pursue, because that washdown pad really is necessary. So I think it would be good to do some brainstorming on where we can get that money from. And I know you've been working so hard on that, Norm. I just put more heads in there and more people scouring the internet for possible funding sources. It'd be great to see that happen.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to get a little input. I raised my hand, but nobody recognized it, so it wasn't coming through. When we reviewed the title of our name, it's called the Port and Commerce Advisory Board. And in my mind, the port encompasses the whole community of Seward. And I think we need some sort of capital plan that's currently in existence of what the city of Seward is planning on doing, so we can work off of that. That information would be greatly helpful to my determination, because I knew that
we really should address the issue of the wastewater treatment and our potential water sources, just to see what the status is. They're very important. And there's some roads in this community that do need repair. So I'd really like to see some info on what the city of Seward is currently proposing or planning.
Yeah, and Carl, I think that that fits in really nicely with the short-term goal that we have of discussing water and wastewater infrastructure and its ability to support economic growth and evaluate the environmental impacts that we from our December meeting. And I agree with you that I think that the two things they marry well together. The talking about the capital improvement plan for the harbor and SMIC, and then also talking about, because that's really what we're asking. We're looking at the capital improvement plan for our utilities and kind of how we're planning for the future and for the future growth of the community. So maybe we could talk about both of those things at a work session in April. I think that it's a big topic. So yeah, maybe for our April work session, we could just take this line item directly out of the priorities, Madam Clerk, the discuss water and wastewater ... items, the discuss water and wastewater infrastructure and its ability to support economic growth and evaluate environmental impacts.
Yes, ma'am.
And then also in that same meeting, just where provide input on the capital improvement plan. So we could do both of those things, kind of taking a big picture look at both of those things for the community. I'm sorry that I'm not. I can't see. I'm not looking at the screen enough. Does anyone else have any comments on that? Aaron, I thank you for your suggestion that it's good that we always end up talking about these things at the end of the year, but I think it's a really good suggestion that we talk about them early so that there's time to take some action on them. But Ben, Linda, do you guys have any thoughts on that?
I like that for April.
Okay. All right. That off. Norm, what about the harbor tariff? When do we need to be looking at that? Is that something that you're going to have that you guys are going to be working on through the year and have ready in the fall, or is the revised document going to be ready earlier? He may have had to step away. Okay, we'll catch back up with him later.
And just remember, Madam Chair, sometimes it does take a minute for somebody to unmute themselves, but yeah, I think he might have stepped away for a second.
Yeah, no worries.
Sorry, I was on the call with DOT.
Oh no, it's all good. We know that you're a busy guy these days. You're wearing many a hat. I was just asking when would be the appropriate time for us to review the harbor tariff? Is that in the fall?
So the harbor tariff, for most of the items on there, they're already scheduled. For like the mortgages, it's already scheduled for the CPI. And then when we had our, a while back, so most of our fees are on the 2-year schedule also. It's just, I think we need to probably discuss SMIC storage yard. I mean, that's what needs to be moved up. That was not touched at all. So maybe we can just discuss SMIC prices, because most everything else is moved up with our automatically already. And I don't think we need to touch the lift fees. I think the lift fees are fine. I think it's just the storage fees that we need to deal with. The electric fees are taken care of by the electric tariff, so.
So So when would you like for this board to take that up so that there's time for public comment? Would you like to do that in the beginning of the year so that you have time to prepare that document for, is it January? Like it's with the budget that gets approved, is that?
Budget gets approved, it has to be approved before January 1st, so the last meeting or the first meeting in December when they usually approve the budget. So if we're gonna do it, we should do it earlier, like maybe the April meeting I think you were looking at?
Yeah. We don't have anything yet for our March or our April meeting, which would
The March would be perfect to start there then.
Okay. All right, so for our March meeting topic, we'll just put the topic as review the harbor tariff, but we'll just know that the main thing that we're reviewing there is the storage pricing at SNCC. But also there will be the annual increases, the CPI increases for the other services.
And Madam Chair, is that going to be for the March 3rd business meeting or the March 17th work session?
For the March 3rd business meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Oh, that's right. It's so weird with 28 days in February, you end up with the same dates in February and March for our meetings.
Yep.
So now that gives us a topic for our March 3rd meeting. For March 17th, so this is the one where in this month we're both going to have a joint work session with PMD sometime in the evening and a joint work session with council on either on March 8th or 22nd. So I'd like to go around and poll each board member individually. If you could let me know whether you want the 8th, the 22nd, or either. And we'll just use the availability of those here to make that determination so we can give council our input on that date. So again, this is an evening meeting at the same time as the council meeting. It's usually scheduled in blocks of 15 minutes for each board. And it's a chance for us to come before council and talk about our priorities and our goals for the year and to get direction from them on what they'd like us to focus on this year. So Board Member Hughes, March 8th or the 22nd?
I think, March 8th, excuse me. Yes, I think March 8th would be fine.
March 8th? Okay. Board Member Paquette?
Sorry, right where that mute button is, every time I hit it, it like puts my screen up. Yeah, that's fine. March 8th is fine.
Okay. Board Member Smith?
I'd prefer the 22nd, but should be able to do the 8th if needed.
Okay. Board Member Lemus?
The 8th.
Great. I personally have a preference for the 8th because March is when we start getting busy, and the more the month goes on, the busier that we get. So, Board Member Smith, I do apologize and appreciate your saying you will make your best effort to be there. But if I'm able to be there on the 8th, that gives us a quorum. So I think our board would prefer the 8th. I also, though, could make the 22nd work if the other boards wish otherwise. But Madam Clerk, if you could relay that to council, it would be much appreciated. Thank you so much.
And also, just FYI, the meeting times, I think from last year for the joint work session, they had PACCAB first at 5:15. The other two times for the boards and commissions is basically it's 5:15, 5:45, and 6:15 was how it was broken down last year. So if the members were good for the first session at 5:15, I can relay that also.
I can make whatever work later. It's usually better for me, but what do you guys think? Carl, what is your preference on?
5:15 is fine for me. I can make that work pretty easily.
Board Member Paquette?
I can make 5:15 work. I'll be there for the entire thing anyway, because I'll be live streaming it.
Okay. Board Member Smith, since you are making this work for us, and we appreciate that, what would be the best time for you on that date?
No preference.
Okay. Okay. And Board Member Lemus, is 5:15 okay with you?
Yeah, earlier the better.
Okay. All right. So yeah, Madam Clerk, the 5:15 to 5:45 time slot would be just fine. Thank you very much.
Okay, and I'll update you if for some reason that's going to change.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that leaves us with an open topic for our work session. Again, we have our city work session, we have our planning and zoning work session, but on the 17th, that's ours. And just looking at the list here, what I'm thinking is we have it on here to update the Seward Boat Harbor plan, and I think that's going to be a multi-meeting endeavor. So maybe the earlier the better, we can get a head start on that. What do you guys think? I think that topic could easily fill at least this one meeting, and I think that the harbor ad hoc committee is going to be meeting in addition to this to try to flush this out, because the plan has not been updated in quite a while. Any objections to that being our work session topic in March? Okay, so updating the Seward Boat Harbor plan is the topic for the March 17th work session.
Noted.
Okay, so that brings us to our April meeting. Board Member Hughes, any ideas on what you'd like to talk about at our April meeting?
Madam Chair, as I stated earlier, I think it would we really need to know what the city of Seward, the council is recommending for capital improvements in addressing wastewater and water issues. I don't know if you can ask the clerk to request some of that information or not. It's hard to make suggestions without some sort of input.
Yeah, and I think that's a good question. And since this is kind of a new topic for us, I think it would be good to get some direction from council when we have that joint work session. But we do already have as our topic for the work session on the 21st of April to discuss the water and wastewater. But I agree with you that it would be good to have some direction from council on that. But we will also have access at that meeting to include in the work session on the 21st to include in the packet the current capital improvement plan for each of those funds, both for the electric utility and for Public Works. I actually don't entirely know if Public Works has a separate capital improvement line item since they're part of the general fund, but I will find that out. I'm sure we'll have good information in our packet about that. For the meeting on the 7th, something that I'm looking for hands. Is there anyone with an idea? Yeah, Board Member Paquette.
I just wonder if we've already covered this and I missed it. Review the vessel property tax and provide recommendation.
No, we haven't done that yet. Unfortunately, I guess not unfortunately, I feel unprepared to have that discussion again. We've discussed it so recently. But by April, that's a few months down the road, maybe we'll have a little bit more information. That's a good suggestion. why don't we put as our meeting topic for the April 7th meeting to, what does it say, review the vessel property tax.
Noted.
Thank you.
Is that enough for one meeting, or should we put something else on there as well?
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing. I'm thinking that maybe what we should do is have an update from the Climate Action Planning Committee on how things are going. By April, you know, we're at that point we're about to go into our hiatus, so maybe we could just discuss the progress of the Climate Action Plan. Okay, so the second topic of the April 7th meeting will be to discuss the progress of the Climate Action Plan. Okay. So we have one more month before our hiatus, a May meeting and a May work session. May 5th is the meeting and May 19th is the work session. One thing that I saw on the list here that would be good to address before budget season is evaluating the Blue Pipeline Initiative. I think that would be better done in a work session. I think there's a lot of discussion that needs to happen around that. But at the same time, that doesn't give us the ability to take any action on it. So if we did want to make some kind of a formal recommendation to council on whether or not to continue the investment, we would need to do that at our meeting so that we could make a motion to make some kind of recommendation to council before they start budget discussions in the summer. Again, that being said, the budget doesn't get approved till December, so we would have that opportunity in the fall. So, Board Member Paquette, what do you think?
I was just going to say, if we decided we wanted to take action, we could always schedule a special meeting just to handle the paperwork. Just a thought.
Yeah, that is true. I know that as we get closer to summer, even those May meetings can become a bit stressful for those of us in the industries that are ramping up around that time. So I would be worried that a special meeting, like we might not be able to get a quorum for a special meeting. However, if we weren't able to, it's something we could address at our September meeting. So your feeling then, Board Member Paquette, is that a work session would be the correct venue to have that kind of discussion? That's where you'd like to see it?
Yeah, it makes more sense, I think, don't you?
Yeah. I tend to agree with you. I'm looking for any hands or dissent to that, but if I'm seeing none, then the idea would be to schedule the May 19th work session topic to evaluate the Blue Pipeline Initiative and give recommendation to council. Well, I guess really it would just be evaluate the Blue Pipeline Initiative, and then in September, or at a special meeting, depending on how timely we think that it is, to give the recommendation to council on the city's continued investment in the program. So,
Madam Chair,
yes, Board Member Hughes.
I'd like to interject another possibility. I'm not directly countering the Blue Pipeline Initiative, but I think there's something more important out there that because this is the meeting before the summer when a lot of the work is done by the utility. What direction, and maybe it's time to get something before the council or the utility board to get this done, pre-approve the grid design and net median agreements. Propose that we really get this done so that customers of the utility that have gone to great expense to develop their own systems but are left in limbo because it still hasn't been resolved. I don't know if this is appropriate or time would allow it, at all to, before summer, or something that needs to wait.
So I'm not an expert here. I'm just drawing on the conversations that we had with Mr. Borgeson when he was the interim director. The city is going to be looking to other communities to kind of piggyback off of some of the pre-approved designs that they're developing. And those designs have been in development for multiple years in these communities. So I would say that I would hesitate to expect of the utility at the point we are with our interconnect policy that they would be ready to have a full-blown grid tie design available before summer. Not that we shouldn't expect high things. However, I think it would be a good discussion to have, but maybe not, as you're saying, trying to get something done and approved at that time. But maybe at our meeting in May, we can convene a discussion about where we're at. Maybe, I was hoping to get quarterly updates from the electric utility on the progress of the interconnect. So maybe we can have another update on the progress of the interconnect policy discussion, or specifically, we could say an update on the progress of the interconnect policy and the development of pre-approved grid tie designs, to make sure that we're specifically talking about that. That is one of the things that's on their interconnect policy checklist that we approved a few months back. But how does that sound to you, Carl? I think you're right that it would be good to have a discussion going into summer to kind of keep that momentum moving forward, but maybe just not expecting that all of that work is done by that time.
Well, Madam Chair, I do think it might be, there's going to be a lot of work to do this, but you've got to understand my perspective. You all know that I go back to Michigan to go deer hunting in the fall every year, and I have a part of a homestead that's mine, that's back there, and I am surrounded by 1,000 giant wind turbines, and they had no trouble getting that passed and approved and tied into the system. I don't understand, in all honesty, the difficulty. It's sort of like the utility not knowing really what to do is like a stick in the mud and standing in the way. But however, that being said, I do think that we need to keep on top of this just to convey to the council how important this really is. Any comments from anyone else?
Board Member Smith, I would love to hear your comments on the issue.
Okay, I'll see what I can do there. I think Board Member Hughes laid that out fairly well. I would, on the behalf of the utility, like to appreciate the amount of work they've done with the limited, really the limited resources. This is a very, very small utility, and most of the places where this is routine, they have entire departments tasked with it. And even in Homer Electric, they have the one person whose job is to do this and nothing else. So just recall last month or the month before, the weather events that caused those series of outages. They've had definitely a lot of work to do. So having them prioritize this, I feel it shows a great deal of respect and recognition of the need to keep moving forward. So with that said, with the pre-approved plans, what we're looking at is engineered drawings that are more or less meet a standard installation, and that would be driven by one thing would be customer demand, like what do people want, and also the installers and the vendors who support it. So these materials need to be available, and there needs to be licensed electrical contractors ready to install it, and people have to want it all before they can have a plan to approve. So if you look at the long-term goals, this is kind of how I see it looping in. I had that long-term goal added there to encourage the city to install demonstration systems. If we kind of tied that in and maybe almost get a preliminary quote for an installation cost from council, and then use that as the first plan that the city can sign off as a pre-approved design. Say 1 kilowatt on of solar on the harbor restrooms or something like that, right? If there's money for it, it really don't. It's maybe $10,000 or $12,000 for a system like that, and it seems like with a payback in place, that we would stand a chance to get them to do something that way. But that would get the ball rolling. So that's those three things. That's what I see as the roadblocks here. There has to be somebody that's willing to do it, with parts that are available, and people that and a contractor that's ready to go. So without that, it's really hard to present something for them to approve.
So, taking everything that you all have said and trying to wrap that up into a discussion topic, my proposal is that we make an item on the May 5th meeting agenda for update on progress of the interconnect policy and the development of demonstration systems for alternative energy sources. Which kind of ties in, this goes back to Linda, what you were saying earlier, what you had wanted to talk about specifically at our at the February meeting. Maybe we give the new utility manager a little bit more time to get into the process and what we want, and then we can put specifically in that May meeting to look at those things specifically, which, Carl, goes back to you, where those, as Ben was saying, I think it's such a great tie-in that those the demo systems are kind of the first set of pre-approved designs. It's a physical way of putting something in place that says this is what works, this is what the city would want, and this is something that we would approve. So I think all those things work really well together. Everyone happy with that? Is that
Madam Chair, I more than support that idea.
Okay.
Thank you.
I concur.
I keep pointing to where you guys are on my screen, but we're not in the same place as for you guys. Zoom life. Well, we have some members of the board that have some commitments later on this afternoon, and so we're going to lose them here in about 10 minutes. So what I would like to suggest is that on that May 5th meeting, that we also set goal calendar for the second half of the year. This is what we did last year, where we kind of set the goal calendar for January through May, and then we kind of reassess, see where we're at, how far we got with things. We'll have kind of a better idea. And then at our May meeting, we can set the goals calendar for the rest of the year and kind of see what we want to get to after our hiatus. I'm making the assumption there that everyone wants to take a hiatus. So I'd like to go ahead and I'm going to go to each person individually, and I'd just like to hear your thoughts on it. So it can be as simple as, yes, I'd like to take a hiatus, or where you're at with it, if you would be open to having some meetings in the summer. I know this past summer we had a couple just because of how weird it was with COVID, and we kind of got behind. But I will start with Board Member Hughes. Would you like to take our traditional June through August hiatus?
Yes, I would definitely like to take the hiatus, but with the advent of the Zoom meetings, it might make it easier for any emergency meetings during those hiatus months for me to attend, quite honest. Smartphones are wonderful devices.
True. Yeah, again, I really hope that this medium stays available to us for a while. I think it's such a great tool. Board Member Paquette, what are your thoughts on a hiatus?
I am not as busy as some of the other people, so I have always been willing to not have a hiatus.
Yeah. And I so appreciate that. And I will tell you, the Climate Action Planning Committee will not be taking a summer hiatus. So I will be leaning on your energy and your talents for that, because that's a push we're going to have to continue to make through the summer. But yeah, I appreciate your willingness to have meetings, and we'll see when we get to May and we're making that second half of the year calendar. We may, see in advance some things we want to address in the summer, or we can call a meeting as needed for things. But Board Member Smith, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I support the hiatus with also support special meetings, and I'm more than happy to continue the ad hoc energy committee work over the summer.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Board Member Lemus?
A hiatus, please.
Noted. I also welcome the hiatus, at least not having the my schedule is so full during those months that it's nice to be able to remove a couple of things, but I am more than willing to have a special meeting as we can if things arise. All right, so that kind of brings us to the end of August. It leaves us September through December to tackle quite a few things, actually. But again, we'll see where we get to by May, and then at that May meeting, we will set the rest of our goals for the year. Before we do break here, I'd like to give Madam Clerk.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to clarify set the goals for the second half of the year. Was that for the regular business meeting or for the work session in May?
For the regular business meeting.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, I was thinking, I know it's hard to have these kinds of discussions, so especially if it's going to be virtual, I might propose a schedule for the second half of the year and have that as something that we can discuss and revise, rather than having as much of a free-flowing conversation as we had now just for the sake of time.
Okay. And then leaving the May work session topic open still?
May work session topic is evaluate the Blue Pipeline Initiative.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to thank Mayor Terry and Mr. Bickling for joining us today, and I wanted to give both of you the opportunity to provide any input or thoughts that you have on what we've discussed today.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have nothing to add. Appreciate them letting me be included in the meeting.
Yeah, thank you for being here. We will, at the very least, see you on March 8th at the joint meeting. Jason, hi. Nice to see your face.
Hello. Yeah, no, I don't have anything to add, so thanks for letting me be a part.
Yeah, and I am sorry that we kind of, because of time commitments, we ran out of time on our second topic of the day, which was the economic recovery. But I really look forward to looping you into some conversations on that as we go forward as well. Madam Clerk?
Did you want me to add that as a discussion item for the February meeting?
Yeah, if you could, that would be great. Thank you for the suggestion.
Because that agenda hasn't been set yet, so we can still add to that.
Yeah, that's great, because I do think the other two things might be quicker agenda items. So yeah, let's put that as a discussion item. Thank you. Mr. Regis, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, Madam Chair. Thank you guys for all you guys do. I know it's a lot of things going on here, so thank you.
Thank you. Again, thanks for always making the time to be at these meetings, even though you're the big wig and not just the harbor master. We appreciate you. Board Member Hughes, any final thoughts?
No, I just really appreciate the participation in these work sessions to try to resolve the issues and take care and take steward into the future. Everybody's input is greatly appreciated. We do have some serious topics that we have to address in the upcoming months, so as I said earlier, I would appreciate some info if it's possible, but other than that, thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you. Board Member Paquette, any final words?
Thank you to everybody that came. Thank you to, everybody that came and all the input. And I think, we're doing good work. It's a good board.
Thank you, ma'am. Board Member Smith?
Looks like this is going to be a fun year for the board, so look forward to that. And I would just like to extend appreciation to all of the public works employees, the DOT, Harbor Master, and their department for keeping up with this winter. It's been interesting. So I know the roads aren't perfect all the time, but it takes a lot, and it doesn't go unnoticed. So thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Lemus?
I hope everybody has a great day.
You as well. Have a good time at your next meeting.
Oh, God.
Thanks to everyone who is here today. I look forward to seeing you in just 2 short weeks at our February 3rd meeting. With that, I'd like to adjourn at 1:16.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Have a good day, everyone.
Yep. Thank you, Madam Clerk.